Campfire question. Where we answer your questions about life, the universe, and RV camping. Great question from George Mogul. How did rig stand up to those roads going to Alaska? I want to drive up to Alaska, but won't want to have to drag a broken RV back home. The Alaska Highway. I love any opportunity to discuss Alaska because after all these years, Alaska stands out as my personal favorite trip we've ever taken with our Airstream.
I did not know that.
It was the best of trips. It was the worst of trips. Truthfully, we encountered a lot of problems getting to Alaska and back. Even though it was the most rewarding trip, we also had just the most trouble with our RV.
Yeah, we actually did a standalone video just about everything that went wrong on our Alaska trip.
So I want to take a moment to remind you, we have a lot of really helpful Alaska content on our YouTube channel. Be sure that you check it out and watch all of those videos. With regard to a trip to Alaska, you have to bear in mind, for us, for example, it was a 14,000 mile round trip, road trip. And I mean from pulling out of our driveway down south and then heading all the way up to basically Fairbanks and turn around coming back through California. Look at any road trip of that magnitude, over 10,000 miles, some things are gonna go wrong. It would be hard on any rig.
Even if you weren't driving a difficult road, just putting that kind of mileage on whatever you're driving, you're gonna have a few things go wrong here and there.
With that said, we were actually pleasantly surprised by most of the roads that we encountered on our trip up to Alaska. So if you're worried about road damage specifically, we didn't really encounter that much.
Yeah.
Now, there was one section of the Alaska Highway near the Destruction Bay area that was
appropriately named.
Terrible. It was one of the worst roads we've been on, period.
But you have to remember, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, the Alaska Highway, for the most part, is a 2-lane highway. The speed limit is 55 miles an hour for most of it. So you're not like on an interstate where you're going to encounter some huge pothole while you're going 75. You know, you can see the frost heaves before you get to them. They put these nice little flags out on either side of the road so you know it's coming. You can slow down. You can brace yourself for it. So that's why we tell people not to hurry when they're driving the Alaska Highway. Take your time because you're going to encounter those areas where you're going to need to slow down. And slowing down is what's going to keep your rig from getting lots of damage because you slow down, you hit a pothole or two at a slower rate of speed, it's not going to do as much damage as if you hit it doing 55 or 60. So remember that when you're planning your trip, to give yourself ample time on the Alaska Highway so that you're not in a rush, so that you're not trying to push the speed limit, so that you can slow down for those frost heaves. You might have a day where you need to take a break and, you know, fix a flat tire, or we had a water leak that happened because a rock hit our freshwater tank, so we had to stop and take care of that. So, you know, as long as you're willing to, I think, roll with the punches, you'll be fine.
The unusual damage that you might encounter on this trip up to Alaska would have to do with rocks striking your vehicle. As Christy mentioned, we did have all the fresh water empty out of our freshwater tank because a rock broke off the drain valve and everything just spilled out. And, you know, I guess in theory that could happen anywhere, but it did happen to us in the Destruction Bay area on the Alaska Highway. The other damage that you might consider is potential windshield damage. We heard a lot of people warning us that those big logging trucks that rip up and down the Alaska Highway can kick out gravel that will break your windshield. I was sort of braced for the possibility of windshield damage, but we never really had any. We did get a lot of dents in our aluminum on the front of our Airstream. There are steps that you can take to protect the front of your RV rig. Some people even just put bubble wrap on the front of their RV.
And the dings that we got were in our rock guards, the aluminum rock guards. So that's what they're there for.
Yeah, I mean, Airstreams are equipped with aluminum rock guards that just mount around the front corner of the unit. And when I see those gravel dings, they don't really bother me. They remind me of the Alaska Highway.
Yeah. If you're wanting to keep your rig absolutely pristine, then you probably won't really leave your driveway.
I view our Airstream like an old Swiss Army knife that has acquired a certain patina over the years from use. I mean, we do use our rig as it was intended to be used.
Absolutely.
Now, we met a few people up in Alaska who, believe it or not, purchased an RV specifically for the Alaska trip. In other words, they had a really nice Airstream back home, and they bought a unit and decked it out for the express purpose of taking it up to Alaska and back. It was almost like their beater Airstream, I guess.
Which I will say that the Airstreams they left at home were really pristine, sort of vintage Airstreams. So I understand not wanting to take those kind of rigs on the Alaska Highway. But you know, I think most of the people we encountered that experienced a lot of damage, it wasn't really on the Alaska Highway. It was on their trip to Alaska, but not on the Alaska Highway. Specifically, the road to Chicken, Alaska is a pretty rough road, and we actually didn't even do that particular drive ourselves.
We skipped chicken and went straight to the beef and pork. Sorry, rim shot.
The other drive that we did not do was the drive to the Arctic Circle. The highway that goes to the Arctic Circle is that highway that's featured on that TV show, Ice Road Truckers. And that road we heard was really bad on rigs because it's a lot of big rig trucks kind of flying down the road. There's a lot of gravel flying, that sort of thing. And everybody told us that specifically you would lose a windshield on that drive, that it's sort of a 50-50 chance it's going to happen. So we didn't do it.
There are a few other steps that you can take before you go to Alaska. I mean, you definitely should have a tube of silicone sealant. You definitely should have a pretty decent little tool kit. You definitely should have some spare tires. You know, for your tow vehicle and or your RV, your trailer. You want to be well covered on that because sometimes the issue is you're 80 miles from anything. So if you have a problem, you need to have everything on board to fix the problem.
And I would recommend a good roadside service plan just because if you have to pay for a tow truck to tow you somewhere on the Alaska Highway, wow, that's going to be expensive. It's a cheap insurance policy to maybe save your wallet if you were to have something major that couldn't be sort of duct taped together until you can get somewhere to fix it properly.
Yeah, we took out a roadside assistance plan like 2 or 3 days before we departed on our trip to Alaska, and within 3 days we'd already blown a tire. That happened in Nebraska.
That was in Nebraska.
So we already sort of cashed in on our roadside assistance plan. So it's definitely good to have that insurance before you leave.
And make sure your plan covers your RV. We bought a plan specific for RVs, but in years past we had just been AAA members and we thought AAA would cover, you know, our trailer because it's attached to our truck, and that is false. You have to get a specific plan for RVs. So make sure that you check the fine print on your plan.
On our Alaska trip, we truthfully did have a lot of things go wrong. I mean, if you'll recall, we had water leak issues. We had issues with our plumbing. We obviously lost all of our fresh water out of our freshwater tank. We had blown tires. We had a blown truck engine later in California. We ran over an orange cone in Vancouver and did some damage to the undercarriage of our Airstream. So
beat up our steps.
A lot of things went wrong, and thankfully we discovered Vinny at Vinny's North Bay Airstream Repair.
Vinny was our savior. We came limping in from Alaska to his shop.
Wait, are you sure you want to do this?
Go for it.
All right.
You'd step back here.
This is where we make the commitment, isn't it?
Just know that you're going to have a camera following your move.
Vinny put Humpty Dumpty back together again,
really
pretty much. But we don't want to dissuade you from going to Alaska because I'm sure a lot of people go and they don't have a single problem probably going up and back.
And none of our problems were trip enders or game changers. You know, they were kind of a pain in the butt for a while, and we were just sort of able to put a Band-Aid on a few of them and make it through our our trip and still enjoy ourselves. And we just knew we had to get it fixed properly once we got back to the lower 48.
And most of the problems we had were not unique to Alaska. They could have happened to us going to Poughkeepsie or Albuquerque. They could have happened anywhere. The only one that I would say is unique to Alaska was that rock breaking open our freshwater tank.
Yeah.
And that was just random bad
random
luck, I guess. Thanks for the great question, George. We want to conclude by encouraging all of you to visit the great state of Alaska, because there's probably no better place you can take your RV in North America. You're going to have a great time. It's a true adventure. The scenery up there is fantastic. The wildlife is spectacular. And it's not only getting to Alaska, it's also the journey across Canada, because Yukon Territory and British Columbia have some of the most beautiful camping opportunities you're going to find anywhere in the world.
And their little campgrounds are so cheap. A lot of them offer free firewood.
The provincial parks of Canada are wonderful. Shout out to you Canadians. I always get a lot of grief because people think
we love Canada. It's
Canada.
A beautiful country. People are friendly.
All right. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks, George, for the great campfire question. If you guys have had experience taking your RV rig up to Alaska, please chime in, post a comment, share your experience. Did you drag home a beaten and broken down RV when you came back to the United States?
Or did you put together some sort of system to safeguard your RV against the Alaska highway? If you did, let us know what you did and how you did it.
And if you have a campfire question you'd like to ask Sean and Christy here on Long Long Honeymoon, be sure and post a comment. We're always scanning your comments to choose the next question.
That's right. Don't you want to be featured on Campfire Questions? It's so cool, right?
Yeah.
It's a special, unique club.
You'll see your name in lights.
That's right. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so that they can find all of our videos to help them in their RV journey. If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button down below. We appreciate you guys joining Loloho Nation. And if you want to make sure you never miss a fresh Long Long Honeymoon video, please click the bell icon next to the subscribe button, and that way you'll get notified every time a new video goes live. Until next time, Loloho.
And by the way, guys, a reminder, we've launched a new newsletter on Long Long Honeymoon. Some of you have told us you're not getting notifications about our new videos, so we encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. We're going to be sending out regular updates that let you know about all the latest videos and what's happening on Long Long Honeymoon. You will find a link beneath this video.
Go subscribe.